Oh, my name is Semanda Hamisi. I'm a farmer in Kayunga District, Garilaya Sub-County, Kasokwe Parish, and Banda Village.
What made you start a goat farming business?
What made me start a goat farming business? It was an inspiration, actually. That's what I can say. It was an inspiration from where I was working from. I was working in Sembegia Estates as the in charge of breeding and assistant manager of the project. So we used to deal with goat farming, helping farmers how to manage, how to treat, how to progress with goat farming, and showing them the business behind goat farming. So actually those people, they performed really very well, and we used to do what they call evaluation at the end of 2 years. But into that evaluation, that's where I got my inspiration, because the farmers that we used to give over 50 goats, you find them in 2 years telling you that we are now in 400 goats. And then because we used to ask them, what have you done with the money, or how much money have you gotten? Somebody tells you, I've sold over 300 goats, 400 goats at 200,000. Adding it up, it could show us that a farmer can own at least over 80 to 100 millions just within a period of 2 years. So that's what made me inspired. And then I also said, let me also go into this business, being that I have the knowledge and skills on how I can manage the project. So I saw it as a vision, and I decided to also buy land and start goat farming.
What must I put into consideration for starting a goat project?
So anybody watching me or watching this program, this is what I can tell you if you really feel that you want to do goat farming as a business, because it's a two-way thing. You might be wanting to do it as like leisure, because most of you guys have money, and you only feel like you want to see the animals. But basically, as a business, this is what I can tell you that you really need to have. One, you need to have land. But that land, the size of the land determines the number of animals. And that also determines the system of farming that you really need to do. Because the smaller the land, it is pushing you to the smaller number of animals, or else to advance into another system of doing zero grazing. And zero grazing is consisting of pasture management. Then after the pasture management, you also have to look at how you can confine your animals in the zero grazing system. So basically, what I can tell you as a farmer, if you're looking at what they call farming, look at the land first, look at the water, because you can't have water without land. So you need to have land, you need to have water, you need to have good genetics, you need to have pastures. Those are things that a farmer would look at before he even thinks about investing in goat farming. So basically, those few things, have them in mind, because that's what will determine the amount of the animals that you're going to start with.
Is goat farming a good investment?
Yeah, for real. I've said this many times on my YouTube channel that you guys, farming of goats, it's a business that can help us with the poor Hamisis, and it's a business that can even push the rich. You who are seeing me who are rich, it is another business that can push you to another level. Why? Because it multiplies fast, and it has a lot of market. Because me, when I look at the market of goat farming, it's really so big that I cannot even manage. So if I see people going into goat farming, you're on the right track, because it's a business that has all the options. One, it has plan A and B, even C. What am I trying to mean by those plans? If I do goat farming and I'm successful and I have a lot of animals, I can't fail to sell. Even if a disease can't come and clear everything. And in that very business, you cannot say that I'm relying on Hamisi, because Hamisi is doing goat farming. So if Hamisi dies, what do you do? So you don't need me. I don't need you to sell my animals. I only need people who are eating. You get it? If people are eating the goats, that means you are having money. So those are the options that I'm talking about. And we are also looking at which markets are available. Like for me, I looked at breeding as one of my markets. I looked at roasting as my other market, and also looked at slaughter and packaging as another market. Then finally, think about of export. Those are the markets that I looked at. So, if you ask me that is goat farming a business, is it a business that I would recommend someone to go into? Of course, I say yes. Why? Because it has made me what I am. I'm not very happy, but at least I'm okay with what I'm doing, and I'm very comfortable with doing goat farming. And I'm known just because of goat farming. So I can say your question that goat farming is a real business that everybody would go into.
How do you raise goats in the simplest and easiest way?
You have seen my houses. My houses are too simple. And I'm so proud to say that I'm among the farmers who have the cheapest houses. But as well, I'm again proud to tell you that I'm among the farmers who really have some of the most expensive animals. Because I have goats that range from 500,000 to even 3 millions, even some are 7 millions. So I'm really proud to be this. So you've seen my houses, and the basic of goat farming is the housing, because most of you people love the project more than what you expect. Because if you have if you think about of goats, you want to do a house which even looks like for human being. These are animals. They need basic houses, like, you know, have the chain link on it, have the shelter when it rains, they go into it. Then also think about of the very good ventilation. Actually, that's what I can say. So basically that.
What is the cost of starting a modern goat farming house?
Yeah, that's it's not an easy question. First of all, because this determines on your financial muscle. What do you have to invest? Just understand one thing or two things, that the smaller the money you use to start a goat farming, the time you take to benefit. Because for us as farmers, we are looking at hundreds. That's when you can benefit more. Because a worker that takes care of 100 goats is the same worker that takes care of 10 goats. The vaccine that vaccinates 100 goats is the same vaccine that will go on to 10. Because the moment you open the vaccine, it's in 100 doses. So that means you can either use it for the 100 animals, or if you use for 10, the rest is going to be discard. So basically, that's what I can give you. That the best, I can tell you a very good answer, that you need to start with this number. That will depend on your financial muscle. What do you have to start with? Because it's a very polite project. If you have smaller money, you can do it. If you have bigger money, you can do it. So me, who started with a smaller money, I can have at least an average money. If I start with a big money, that means I'm going to have bigger outputs. Because when I start with 100, that's around 50 millions. And if you include everything, let's say a house, let's say the stock, the workers, basically, if you want to start very well and run for the first 6 months, have like maybe 70 or 80 millions there. But if you're starting with 10, still the beginning will be polite, but finally you reach where you want. So basically, I can't give you a specific amount of money. It's like telling you that, my brother, how many kids do I need to have so that I can have a family? It just depends on you, on how you want it. You get it?
Yes, yes.
So basically, it's very hard, but maybe we would ask what would be the ideal number of animals to start with. Me, I would say at least start with 10. Because 10 goats in the period of 2 years, you'll probably have over 80 goats to 100. So basically, if you start less than 10, it's not viable, even because monitoring even those animals will be very hard. You'll find it that you're not breaking even. just because the number of animals is too low, and the expenditure will be too much because you have to inspect, you have to make calls. You find that every week or every month you're consuming one goat off. So what do? At least have 10 and above. 10, 20 and 100.
How many breeds of goats do we have?
No, actually at my farm, I'm dealing with basically meat goats, because I don't want those confusions like in dairy goats. If you do dairy goats, like the way you have traveled, the distance you have traveled up to here, you know what it means. Let's say if I have 100 goats and those 100 goats are giving me 20 liters of milk, and I have to drive all the way from Kampala to come and pick the 20 liters per day. How much fuel do I use? How much risks do I have? You know, so that becomes not a viable project. But, and also investing in the machineries that can preserve, harvest the milk, preserve, and take it to where the market is. Because now in our area here, you can't find somebody interested in taking goat's milk. It's only those elite, those people that have learned a lot about the quality and, you know, the nutritional value of that milk would look for it. But in our village here, people think about of cows, and they think cow's milk is the best. So I will find another problem doing goat farming, and you know, I have to take it to Kampala, yes, which is too expensive. That means I have to have many animals, and I can harvest over 1,000 liters. That means if you are harvesting over 1,000 liters, because a goat can give you like maybe 2-3 liters in a day. That is morning and evening. So it will be very hectic. So me, basically, what I do, I deal with meat goats. That's what I decided to do, because I do my evaluation after 6 months. I can know that I have 1,000 goats. If they produce another 1,000 in 6 months, that means by the time they produce for the second time, I can have 1,000 animals to sell. And I don't need to carry it to Kampala. It is the buyer to come out to my farm, tell me how many he wants, then he pays me my money and goes with my animals. Sorry, his animals, because he should have paid for them. So that means I do the meat breeds. And what are those meat breeds? I'm talking about the savannas, like the ones you see which are white, full body white. I have Boers, which are brown head and white body. I also have Kalahari, which are totally brown. So far, those are the breeds that I have. But I have some few locals, like maybe 30 or 100. And I don't consider them to be part of my main project. I only keep them to show people that this is where they call a local goat, local Muvende, small East African, Chigezi. So those are also breeds, but me, I basically deal with the three: Boer, Kalahari, and Savannah. Now, me, as me Hamis, I recommend all of them, but that will also depend on your financial muscle. Because when I look at all these animals, you see some animals weighing 120 kgs, that's a male, live weight. And when you look at the Boer, also a Boer can weigh 120 kgs live weight. When you look at a Kalahari, can as well do the same. So basically, the South African people are very good in doing genetics. And now they have made their muscles, and they are now following their line and say, we are building up this color and give it a name. But in the performance, growth rate is the same, maturity weight is the same, the carcass is the same. So even the meat itself, the quality of the carcass or the quality of the meat is still the same. So these people are doing their genetics, and they are changing the colors, and we are giving them money. Now I have seen they have made another black goat, completely black, but having floppy ears, the same mass, and so on. So basically, me, I would recommend the three that I've tested. They get acclimatized to environment. They are really very good animals. So far, not bad with me.
What is the concept of goat farming in Uganda?
The concept, actually, years back, people have been trying to do goat farming here. But they had a lot of challenges, and they didn't have people to help them. That's why when I opened up my YouTube channel, I decided to give them free information, and then allowing them to visit my farm and learn for free. Me, I'm not looking at you paying me the 20,000, then you go and start.
They are learning for free.
They are learning for free. Every Sunday, someone comes, learn what I do. And I believe in teaching you practically what I'm doing. Because if I go back in the book and I teach you about goats, still many books are there, but they have not created impact. But allowing them to come, meet me as a person, show them what I do, how do I do it, which breeds, doesn't make me charge them, because I want them more on board. So if I teach you how to do goat farming and I charge you, you pay me your 20,000. That means you're also going to do a school. Then you charge other people to come and learn. And that is going to stop our speed on goat farming. But since I opened up a YouTube channel, giving you free information, allowing you to come to my farm for free, we have really increased the number of animals, and people have now started really serious goat farming, and they are really dealing with the right breed. So basically, they are doing the 3 breeds that I really promote. So the conception, people are now digesting goat farming like nothing. You cannot talk about 10 to 20 projects in Uganda and you don't mention about goat farming. It is that way because I became a pioneer giving information and let people don't lose their animals just because of the petty diseases that attacks us. The way I ensure quality animals, I told you many times that the business of goat farming is all about the genetics, because I really have what they call the 3 triplets. One of the triplets, one is genetics, another one is nutrition, and another one is management. So basically, I want to explain to you the quality all lies on the genetics. Though nutrition also contributes a lot, but basically genetics is the basic. Me, what I do basically most of the time, I look for the best animals. I go to South Africa, I carry in the males that I really want, depending on the breed. But me, basically, whenever I go to South Africa, I bring in a Boa, I bring in a Savannah and a Kalahari, like the way I told you that I'm looking at the 3 animals. So the quality of the animals depends on the breed. Those are the 3 breeds that I was talking about, that really grows so fast, because what we really want in this business, it's all about the growth rate, the carcass weight, and the maturity weight. So how long does an animal take to get to slaughter weight? Which kind of meat does it give us, and what is the amount of meat? So when I talk about of the quality of goats that we really have here in Uganda, those are the 3 breeds that I look at. So me, what I always do when I import in a male, then and I cross it with the pures I have, or with the crosses, or with the local that I have, I'm improving on the genetics of the one that we have here. Let's say Mubende, we have Mubende goats here, and they are good animals. Actually, they are superior among the local inferior. But when you compare them to the superior ones, it's an inferior animal. So basically, when I cross the 2, I get what they call the F1, which is 50%, and that's a very good quality. It can give us very good meats in a shorter period. So if I want to improve again to more other genetics, I get another pure male, then I give it to that 50%, which is F1, and they become 75%. So that's how I ensure my quality of the animals. Keep improving and also avoid inbreeding. I don't allow a father to breed the kid. I don't allow a son to breed the mother. So that's how I always manage my quality.
What do you use?
Yeah, basically, for me, what I do, it's very easy actually to handle those animals. Whenever you produce an animal, you can even have, let's say, a flock of 100 or 200 goats, then you give it 4 males. Whatever you produce from that flock, that is what you separate. You've seen my flocks. I have female winners, I have male winners, I have a main flock. So whatever I produce in that flock, I separate it. The females alone and the males alone. So males go to the male winners and the females go to the female winners. And those are the ones I sell. Those are the ones that either I decide to stay with them or to sell to other breeders. So that's what I do basically.
At what age do goats reach maturity?
Like sexual maturity, an animal wanting to be bred, Sometimes if you're feeding your animal very well, 5 months an animal comes on heat, but it's not good to give your goat a male at 5 months. Why? Because it will divert all the nutrients from the mother, and it will give it to the kid. That might let an animal getting stunted. It's like the same way like in human beings. Early pregnancy really affects the host. It affects the mother. So basically, we always allow them to be bred at 8 months, so that an animal makes a year with the first production. So 8 months is the best time for an animal to be bred.
What tips do you have for farming for those beginners succeeding?
Yeah, the tips that I can give you, my viewers, first of all, be focused on what you want. Have a vision before you start a project. I don't want to look at what you're starting with, but I want you to look at where do you want the project to be. First and foremost, for a goat farming, I don't want you to see the project and say, I just only want to keep animals. Look at other alternatives. You get? After being with that vision and say, I want my project to be here. Because the tip or the vision I had was making a breeding farm, first of all. From doing a breeding farm, doing a goat grill, and then as well packing meat and export. Otherwise, most of you would think of export even before breeding. So me, basically, I've achieved the two. One, I've done breeding, and people have been buying goats from me for breeding, and I've done a grill. Actually, I have the first cafe in Kayunga called Ham Garden Cafe and Grill. So I roast my animals. From here, I carry them to my place. Let's say those rejects, the ones that we don't want, are the ones that are not good for breeding. I carry them to the grill. They roast them. So I double the profit. I even sometimes get the triple the profit that they would give me when they are buying one by one. So the tips I'm giving these farmers: one, ensure that you have quality feed. Ensure that you get very good genetics. Ensure that you have very good management. The three things lies in your hand. So it's you to decide. Don't just go because I have seen somebody doing goat farming and I think I can just only have to go there. Know what you want, like which breed. After having your focus, look at what you want to do. Don't just go in for any breed. That will not help you as a farmer. I want you to look at the breed. I want you to look at the pastures, and then it will be a good way of starting. But basically, some of the farmers do a lot of mistakes. You start goat farming, you don't have pastures, and you think an animal will grow without pastures. Some people start goat farming, they don't have water. How do you expect an animal to grow? You have all that, but you have very poor genetics like locals. It is going to take for you a lot of time to get your money back. So basically, those are the tips that I could give to the young farmers.
How important is water in goat farming?
What I can assure you as a senior farmer, don't even think about of doing a project without water. Because even in digestion of an animal, if there is no water, it can't take place. Or it can take place, but at a low pace. So never and never start a project without water. Water is a basic. Pasture is a basic. Then genetics and management will follow.
So what kind of feeds do they normally feed on?
Yeah, basically, some farmers do a lot of mistakes because they have big chunk of land and they think goats can only feed on those natural grasses. And then when you go through the process of the pasture, like in pasture management of their farms, most of the grasses that are there are not fed by the animals. And you find that a farmer is having a chunk of land without the real grass that the goats can eat. So basically, the pastures that we are looking at, goats in nature, they are browsers. They tend to eat on shrubs. So most of us don't have that chance of having those kind of land. What do? Because we need goat farming, we shall not force them to graze. because if you force them to graze, they can never give you results. They'll always be sickly. They will not have very good mass because you're giving them an exposure to worms all the time. What do? You need to look at the supplementary feeds. Me here, I have a garden of alfalfa, and that is a source of protein. I think when I talk about of alfalfa, you people who have tried to do goat farming, you know what it means from all over the world. It's a world-class grass. So it's a very strong source of protein. So I plant alfalfa, I plant sugar grass. Sugar grass is a sorghum, which also has a protein. It also has a carbohydrate in it. We have Chloris guyana, Bracharia molato, and those are basically what I use more at my farm. But as per now, I'm giving more concentration on the alfalfa being my first priority, and the second being sugar grape.
So, what advice can you give to fellow people who are in the same business who mistreat their workers?
If you really don't change your temperaments, if you don't change your lifestyle into the farming lifestyle, you will never benefit. First of all, you're going to make one worker hurt, and that hurt will spill over to the rest of the workers. And those people will let your animals die, even without telling you. That's what I can tell you. But the moment you make those people happy, you can never lose animals. Two, some of you people think that making what they call divide and rule can do better. In farming business, it doesn't work. Maybe it works somewhere else. But in farming business, it doesn't work. How? Because if I'm your worker and I have my colleague that is also your worker, he's taking care of his flock, I take care of my flock. And I want him to be in shit. What do? I make sure that I make him do a mistake. And that mistake, you will lose animals, such that you're pissed and chase him away. In that process of fighting each other, if a goat dies and I want him to know that it's you who lost the goat, finally it goes back to you because it's your goat that is dying. Do you see how divide can't work? Because I'm making sure that I make my friend do a mistake, and he's also making sure that he's making me to do a mistake. But in that grudge and fight, it is the owner that is losing. So my dear, don't use divide and rule. In this section, it cannot work. Please just befriend the guys, make sure they unite and they have a strength to do the farm.
How have you handled diseases on your farm?
Diseases are very simple. Actually, it's one of the simplest things to handle. First of all, most of the diseases that attacks goats are vaccinatable diseases. It is your laziness or it's my laziness that I don't want to vaccinate. And the vaccine is too cheap than even treatment, because vaccinating each of the disease of an animal will maximum cost you 700 shillings per year. And you know, if you wait to lose a goat of 6 millions or 5 millions or 4 because of 700 shillings, that goes back to you. Secondly, the diseases that attacks us are minor, like maybe diarrheas. You have to ensure that you have a kit, that kit which has drugs and the drugs that can help. Get your workers trained. It's very simple to train a worker. Do not rely and say, I only have to wait for a vet. Vets are also very busy and there are very few in the area. So get your workers trained. Then after getting trained, do what you're supposed to do right. What do you have to do? Make sure that you vaccinate your animals, all the diseases every year. Then make sure that you spray your animals every week. Then make sure that you deworm your animals after 3 months. More so if you have shrubs and their goats are not grazing like mine. But mine, since they are grazing, I make sure that I deworm them after 2 months. Those are the basics that you can really do. If you vaccinate, do the rest, get your workers, have an exposure by getting trained on farms that really do the same, you will never go wrong with goat farming. Yeah, the challenges I've got, basically, they were about the drugs, the acaricides. The ticks had built tick resistance. and then you use an acaricide, and you find that the ticks are not dying. Then two, also workers is also another challenge, because when you're dealing with human resource, you're dealing with a relationship. If some of you could tell me how many people you had a relationship with before you even got a person to get married to, your lists will not end. But actually, also workers is the same way. You try the worker. If it doesn't work out well with him, please change to another worker till when you get a person who is passionate about farming, who is really very interested, and they will be able to work with you. So some of the challenges, those were the challenges. Basically, the resistance of the acaricides. Secondly, the workers, having those kind of habits. You're working out with him very well, but he's showing you that he's supposed to go. Those are some of the challenges that we've been.
You've encountered?
Um, Not much problems, but my other farmers get those problems because they start wrong. But me, I started right because I already had the experience. So the problem those people have, they think about of the project. Then after thinking about of the project, they never went into another detail of knowing how the project is started, and people are just lied. Then at the end of it all, they hit on the wall and they say that goat farming is very complicated. So there is no much problem that we so far have, unless the big problem is those people that really need a big mass of animals for export, and we don't have them. Somebody is offering $1 billion to do goat farming, giving him 10,000 animals per month, and I can't afford. So that is one of the things that really give us traumas as farmers. Seeing the money, but we can't touch it because we have no animals. So those are some of our problems that we really have. The key factors for goat farming, I told you many times, knowing the land, having the land. Two, which grasses do you have? Three, what is the location? Do you have water or not? Then as well, I think those are some of the key that a farmer would think about. Think about of water, think about of pastures, think about of good genetics, and very good management. Those are the key factors that might lead you to be a successful farmer or to be a failure.
Is weather condition a problem?
Yeah, weather is also another problem, because now in the rainy season, we tend to have a lot of infections. But as a devoted farmer, you know how to handle each season. I've told you many times, I've told many people on my YouTube channel, every season we have drugs that we have to have. Each season, you have to get prepared for it. Like the rainy season, we always deworm earlier, and in the middle we deworm. In the dry spell, we have to get prepared for fleas, because those are the diseases that really disturb us. So if a farmer is very well organized, it's very easy to handle these animals. So basically, that's what I can give to the farmer, that just know the season and handle it in a different way. And actually, know how to utilize the season. Like now we've been in a rainy season. We were supposed to be harvesting grass, planting grass and harvesting. Most of the farmers have not been minding about that. So now we are going into a dry spell, and you hear farmers crying that we have no grass. Yet we've been having a very good rain for that case. And we, in Uganda, we can't complain about the weather, because we have the best. I don't know what you guys understand by Pearl of Africa. Me, I think we don't have even to complain about that, because our giant farmers in South Africa, they even take some 7 years without rain, which cannot even happen in our country here. But they struggle all their way to make sure that they feed the animals. Funny enough, we who have a lot of grasses, instead of planting and exporting to them, we run to go and pick the animals from them. And they struggle a lot, and we afford to buy those animals very expensive. But the reason why we buy them expensive, because they use a lot of money to give them feeds, and they charge us who wants them. But for us who have that, we can't utilize the chance of planting and having enough pastures such that we can as well sell to them. They sell us the animals, genetics, we sell to them the pastures. So basically that.
Any message to our viewers?
My viewers or my followers, the message I can give to you is, if we take goat farming serious, it is really going to employ many of us. It's going to employ our kids, because me, I wouldn't like my kid to go into that pipeline of looking for a job. I'm making sure that my kids get to understand where I get the money. They get to understand how to run the project, such that when they get done with school, they know where to go. And that will help us as a country to accommodate the new generation. Instead of the new generations running into politics, they will be running into farming. And for your information, we can never produce enough goat's meat to the world. The world is too open and really needs our meat, because we are the pearl of Africa. That means we have a lot of good meat. Our meat is tasty and everybody is yearning for it. So I call upon all of you people who have money and those who doesn't have money to try and join goat farming. It's going to be beneficial for us. It's going to create a lot of jobs for us, and basically it's going to help us move to another level in terms of making money, in terms of being rich, and also accommodating our own kids into the business. So basically, come join us, do the farming, because for us we have pioneered to give you the information for free. Learn, do it. That is going to help us accumulate a lot of animals, and that will lead us to go into the export as farmers. So basically, this is the only option, is one of the only options that we have that can accommodate all of us and can make all of us.
Your social media, how can people get you?
My social media, they can check on Facebook. I use Ham Animal Breeding Farm. And on YouTube, you put in Hamis Semanda, goat farming. And I think those are basically the two that I always use. I use YouTube. I use also TikTok. I also use Twitter. So you always put in my name or put in the names of the farm. You can always get me and get all the information that you need.